I didn't know this, and maybe many of you didn't, but there's a band that comprises many of our most popular authors out there, and they're called the Rock Bottom Remainders. One of their members is Stephen King, who's with us on the phone. Stephen, good morning.
How are you?
We're doing great. Of all the years we've done this show, can't believe you've never been on.
I can't believe it either.
Well, didn't know you were in a...
We must believe it, I guess. Hey, listen, are you guys going to have a parade for my team today?
Yes, of course we will. We didn't plan it, but we'll throw something together.
The Los Angeles Stephen Kings, right?
Are you a fan, or...?
It's my team, man.
All right, cool.
Well, the show...
Aren't they named after me?
Apparently they are now.
The show is Friday, June the 22nd, 8 o'clock at the El Rey Theater.
Yeah.
The band, once while playing the Palladium, was joined by Bruce Springsteen.
That was so great.
And Bruce told them, he says, "You're not bad, but don't try to get any better. Otherwise, you'll just be another lousy band. After 20 years, we still meet his stringent requirements."
Good advice.
Stephen, wanted to ask you a question. I'm sure this won't offend, but it seems with the level of work that you put out, do you have ghostwriters?
No, but I can play Ghost Riders in the sky.
Well, something.
So work...
I don't have any ghostwriters. It's just me.
Now,
just me in a room.
Now, the other day, I saw, and it had been probably 20 years since I saw it, but I re-saw Carrie. And it holds up so beautifully well because of the fantastic performances of Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie.
Yeah, that was a great movie. You know, the first time that I saw that movie, it was an advanced screening. It was piggybacked on a movie called Norman, Is That You? with Red Fox. And my wife and I went down to see it. And we were like two little flecks of salt in a pepper shaker because it was, a real sort of a black audience that night. And I thought they're going to have real problems with this little suburban girl with her menstrual problems. But they got right in it. And there were two guys behind us that were the size of fullbacks, And when that hand came out of the ground at the end, they just clutched each other, and one of them screams, "That's it! She ain't never going to be right." I thought we had a hit.
Yeah, well, you did. And with Misery, I don't know how that movie could have been better, but my question for you is it hit and miss for you? You know, you sell the rights, you do the whatever, and then you go to the movie theater and you see your book on screen. Do all of them work for you, or do some not?
No, a lot of them work for me, more work than don't, because I've got a really sort of generous personality. There are a few of them, like I could do without Children of the Corn 7 and 8 and that sort of thing.
Sure.
My one unfulfilled wish was that Children of the Corn would meet the Leprechaun or Jason, because I'd like to see who'd win that. But there are a lot of them that I really like. I like Cujo, and I like The Shawshank Redemption.
Dude.
Misery, the Stand By Me. A lot of pretty good movies.
Really good.
One of my other favorites is The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken.
Terrific, yeah.
I really thought, I love that. Those of you that have never seen it or hadn't read the book, basically a guy is in a traffic accident. He's in a coma for like 5 years. And he wakes up with the ability to, whenever he touches someone, he can see their future.
Yeah.
And when somebody at one point brilliantly in the movie, they say, "Have you ever thanked God for this gift?" And Christopher Walken looks at him and goes, "Gift? You think this is a gift?" And Christopher Walken is, as always, phenomenal in that role.
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of developed into a comedy actor over the years, but he was a terrific serious actor. You remember him in The Deer Hunter?
Oh, sure.
God. Oh, scarred me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, great playing Russian roulette, and he just gives off those crazy vibes. But when you meet him in person, he's a terrific guy and funny, but in a really laid-back way. Sweet man.
Stephen, let's talk about the band, the Rock Bottom Remainders. This is going to be the all-Arthur band.
Tell everybody in your listening area, go buy a ticket, because just bring the cotton for your ears. Dave Barry likes to say there are bands that specialize in easy listening. We specialize in hard listening.
Now, it's your 20th anniversary and final performance, and all-author band. You play rhythm guitar. Am I right saying that?
Yeah, sometimes I can actually be in rhythm, but I play rhythm guitar.
Now, is it cover tunes, originals? What is it?
We do a couple of original tunes, actually. Dave Berry's got a song called Proofreading Woman. It's a kind of a calypso thing. And there are a couple of other originals. I can't seem to write any music myself. I didn't try that.
That's interesting.
It's mostly covers. We try to find stuff, that doesn't make us jump to that difficult fourth chord.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's hard.
So we stick to a lot of stuff, party tunes, house rockin', Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Well, I love what you said. I'm going to read your quote about the band. You said, I'm looking forward to reuniting with all my bandmates. We're older now, but not dead. Some of us can remember all of the words. All of us can remember some of the words. And none of us can remember all of the music. That's why they call it rock and roll.
Now, listen to the lineup in this band. It's Stephen King, Mitch Albom, Matt Groening, Amy Tan, Dave Berry, Scott Turow, Ridley Pearson, Greg Iles, Sam Berry, and Roy Blunt Jr. Stephen, do you guys ever talk shop?
Well, that depends on what you mean. If you mean writing shop,
Yeah.
we generally just sit around and laugh a lot. They're a great bunch of guys. Every now and then we get around to talking shop, and actually a book that I wrote came out of one of those discussions with Amy Tan. I said to her, "What's the one question you never get asked when you do these appearances where you're a writer?" And she said, "Nobody ever asks about the language." And so I ended up writing a book called On Writing that was about the language. So because I really related to that. Nobody really does ask about that. They'll ask about where do you get your ideas, which is a question you can't answer, and they'll ask how much money do you make, which is a question you don't dare answer.
Now, I've often wondered, normally when somebody's going to sit down and write a screenplay, they're going to have a blueprint. They're going to have an idea of where the thing is going. Do you do that with a book, or do you just sit down and start writing?
Usually I have some kind of an idea. I have a place where I want to start, and a lot of times I'll be like driving or something, and I'll be rehearsing how I want that to go. But to me, that's like being a surfer, and you paddle out and you look for a wave you can catch. And I think that most surfers would say you can't plan that ride. You can catch the wave, you can pick your wave that you want, but once you're on it, you ride it. And to me, it's like surfing. That's the exhilaration of it. So I know where I'm going to start, and I got a clear picture of that. And a lot of times I think I know where I'm going, and I end up someplace that's entirely different. There are writers. I know John Irving, and John Irving is a good friend of mine. He can't play music, I don't think, but hey, neither can we. But, he says that the first thing that he writes when he gets ready to write a novel is the last line. And to me, that would be like opening your Christmas presents on Christmas Eve.
Well, can we then use, for an example of what you're talking about, say Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest movies, one of the greatest stories ever. Where did that start?
I started to think about a guy digging a tunnel out of his prison cell behind a poster. And that was where it started. And then little by little, I started to think, well, I don't want him to tell this story. I want somebody else to tell the story. And so I found this guy who named Red, who says, I'm the guy who can get it for you in prison. And I thought a guy like that will be sort of hooked into everything. And he talks about his friendship. And it actually started to, for me, it's like you pick the wave and you say, I want to write a story about a prison break, a really unique prison break. And then you end up writing about friendship instead.
What an honor it is to get inside your head. I mean, you're sharing some great things with us. Thank you so much. Now, the name of the band, again, is the Rock Bottom Remainders. It's the Past Our Bedtime Tour. Now, get a ticket Friday, June 22nd, 8 p.m. at the El Rey Theater. You can go to markandbrian.com for ticket information. And, Stephen, I'm just assuming with hearing your your great sense of humor and the other guys, there's a lot of talking on stage as well, is there not?
Yeah, we cut it up pretty good. I don't think we're doing Teen Angel this time, but Dave Marsh, the rock critic, and he's on the radio sometimes, used to come out in a wedding dress covered with blood. I still got stage blood on my guitar strap from that.
Wow.
I wear it with pride, too, guys.
Stephen, we've run out of time on this segment. I don't know how busy you are. Is there any way that we could hold you for one more segment and take some phone calls?
I'm going to be right here.
Nice.
If you would like to ask Mr. King a question. Your phone number here is 1-800-955-5567.
Stephen, I'm sure you get this all the time, but I didn't know. We've never been on the show before, and I didn't know what to expect. I thought maybe creepy guy.
Yeah.
Creepy guy.
Creepy guy. You're great.
Keep well hidden.
You're fantastic.
Here's one thing I can tell you about Stephen. He is a violent Red Sox fan.
Uh-huh.
I mean, violent. Stephen, how's your team?
We suck this year.
I saw you at the World Series. I think it was Game 7.
On TV?
Yeah. And Stephen was bent over the wall and banging onto the thing. I mean, he was making more noise than 100 other people.
It worked.
Yeah, it did. All right, we'll be back with your calls for Stephen King right after this. It's the Mark O'Brien Radio Program.
There's no room.
You are listening to the Rock Bottom Remainders. This is them right here. Sound pretty good.
Really, really good.
We are speaking with the great Stephen King. He's on the phone with us. His band, the Rock Bottom Remainders, the all-author band, celebrates their 20th anniversary in a final performance at, this is Friday, June 22nd at 8 p.m. at the El Rey Theater. Stephen, thank you for hanging on a little bit with us.
Thanks a lot. I just got to tell you, that's from our album, Rock Bottom Remainders, Do You Too.
You guys sound just like them.
Stephen, before we open the thing up to your fans, I wanted to ask you, it seems a lot of some of the best movies that were based on your material came from your short stories. I wanted to ask you, why are they short stories? Did you give them everything that you thought they needed?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, sometimes you just get a little idea, a little kernel of an idea, and I think a lot of times for movies, that's a better thing. Sometimes the longer books, a little bit like, you know, when you sit on your suitcase to get all the stuff in there, and it gets a little bit overstuffed. And the short stories sometimes are just about right for movies, because movies are, you know, people want to sit for an hour and a half. They don't want to sit for 6 hours.
The phones have exploded, Stephen. Let's go.
Oh God! Don't get any of them on you.
We're trying to duck. Debbie, you're on the air with the great Stephen King.
Hi, Mr. King.
Hi, Debbie.
How are you? I am so excited.
Well, I'm as happy as a clam at high tide.
I have read everything you've ever written.
Thank you.
Starting with Salem's Lot, and I just finished the newest book in The Dark Tower, and I just want to thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to compliment your good taste.
Sarah, good morning. Line 4, Frankie. Sarah, good morning. You're on the air with Stephen King.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hey.
Stephen, I know you had that horrific accident years ago, and I'm so happy that you've recovered. But my question is, did you find after your recovery that your writing process changed at all?
Well, I think that I got a lot more interested in the idea of how short life is, and you know how fragile it is when we're feeling good. I mean, if we're having a day when we all feel good, I mean that's a great day, and so I try to be a little bit more aware of that. I think it affected my work in some ways. I don't think it darkened it any. I think if anything, it made it a little bit brighter, because it made me feel like I was really fortunate to still be around.
Stephen, are you as big a fan of all Boston teams as you are your Sox?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I would say baseball is a sport that I love. And, you know, when I said the Red Sox suck this year, they really don't. They're about 500. But I like the Bruins. And I was sorry when when the Celtics got knocked out, and I'll be rooting for the Thunder to beat Miami Heat because they're the Heat, man.
All right, let's go to Mark on line 10. Mark, you're on the air with Stephen King.
Yeah, Mr. King, it's an absolute pleasure to speak with you, and I have to say that because of you, I'm still an avid reader today.
Good, good.
My question to you, sir, is how did you come up with your pen name, Richard Bachman?
Well, I had a different pen name. I was going to call the first book that was under the pen name after my grandfather, whose name was Guy Pillsbury. So I was going to call it that. And it turned out that I got a call from the editor saying, we got about 10 minutes. That name came out. Can you give me a different name? So there was a Richard Stark book on my desk, and Bachman Turner Overdrive was playing on the radio.
Wow.
Richard Bachman.
Wow.
That's so cool.
There really is. Let's go to Tammy. Tammy, you're on the air with Stephen King.
Hi, Stephen. How are you? I'm so happy
good,
to be
Tammy.
speaking
How
with
are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Are you going to go to the parade for my team today?
I'm not, but I'm viewing it.
Oh,
In
okay.
fact, I'm watching that corner. No, I'm watching something terrible as we speak on the news, but that's beside the point. I wanted to ask a silly question. I wonder if in every book you use the phrase "hunker down." I've always noticed it, and I just wondered.
That's because I'm probably running out of new things to say. I wasn't even aware of it, actually. But now that you just said that, I think I'll just sort of hunker down.
Gosh, I wonder if every book has that.
No, I don't think every book has that, but you could do a Google search, I guess.
Raymond, you're on the air with Stephen King.
Thank you, guys. Mr. King, it's an honor to speak to you.
Well, thanks. Honored to speak to you, too.
Thank you. Listen, one of my favorite movies of all time is It. Tim Curry plays one of the best clowns I've ever seen. And I was wondering two things. One, is it ever going to come out on Blu-ray? Because I'm waiting to get it. And two, there's been talks. I read an article a couple days ago about remaking it again. I was just wondering if you had any knowledge on that.
Well, I know what you know from the internet, which is they're talking about making it. Warner Brothers is talking about making it as two movies, which is sort of an interesting idea. But I agree with you. I don't know if it's going to come out on Blu-ray or not, but I can tell you that miniseries of It on ABC back in the day, it really screwed up a lot of kids. You'd be surprised how many young adults come up to me and say, I've been afraid of clowns ever since I saw Tim Curry in It. And he was a really scary clown, but, you know, clowns are really creepy anyway.
They are. They really are.
You know, you show a kid, ha, look at the funny clown, and the kid cries, which to me shows that the kid is sane. You know?
Right.
Let's go to Randall. Randall, you're on the air with Stephen King.
Hey, Mr. King, huge honor to speak with you.
It's nice to talk to you, too.
I was wondering what you think the greatest story not written by you ever was.
Oh, my God. And the best story not written by me? Well, first of all, that's very few stories because obviously I wrote a lot. I'm just yanking your crank, buddy. You kind of put me up against the wall there. A lot of stuff I like. Somebody asked me about that, and I feel like, you know, if somebody yelled fire in a crowded movie theater, everybody, all the names crowd the door at once. The one that always comes to mind is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I loved that book. I think it had a big influence on me.
Stephen, do you ever sit down with like a legal pad and a pen, or is that just basically for notes?
No, sometimes I do. If I don't have something with me and I really want to work, legal pad is my weapon of choice.
You know, Stephen, I think the first time I remember being affected by something I read, I might have been 10, and I read Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. And I think it was the first time that the power of the written word struck me. What was it that you wrote that you said to yourself, wow, I'm pretty good?
Oh, man. It wasn't a case of ever saying to myself, man, I'm pretty good. It was more like you say to yourself, man, I'm having fun. And I bet you could talk to a lot of people who play guitar, which I wish I could do, but I'm happy with what I do. And they would say, you know, there was a moment when I just said, this is a blast. I'm not practicing. I'm just having a ball. I wrote a book the year I was a freshman in college. It was eventually published. It's called The Long Walk. And it was one of those published under the Richard Bachman name. And I thought to myself, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
With all the writing you do and all the time that takes, can you still sit down with a historical fiction or a crime drama and enjoy it just as a reader, a fan of reading, or because you're who you are, do you analyze?
No, I don't analyze. I don't analyze. I just utilize. I love to read. And, I just put everything on the back burner. You know, if it's something that's really bad, you know that pretty quick. But I've got, I like historical. Ken Follett's books are great. And
sure.
There's Michael Connelly, who writes about Los Angeles crime novels. I like him. James Elroy, he writes about L.A. A lot of different stuff. I read across a wide range. And to me, that's it's great. You live one life in the real world, but if you read books and stuff, you can lead 1,000 lives.
That's so true. And I would suggest one to you because I just finished it, and it was different than anything I'd ever read. It's called HHHH, which stands for Himmler's brain is named Heydrich.
Yeah, I heard about that, I think.
You would love it, I think, because the author, it's a French author named Laurent Binet. He writes this historical book, but steps out of the story, breaking the fourth wall constantly, telling you how much he hates historical fiction. It's great.
I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it.
Now, Stephen, with all of the horrifying things that you've written about, and the stories you've told, and the images, the horrifying images you've come up with, does your wife sleep with one eye open?
No, I do.
Oh.
All right, one more question, Stephen. We'll get you out of here. Let's go to Kristen. Kristen, you're on the air with Stephen King.
What an honor. Thank you very much, Mr. King.
Hey, Kristen, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm a fellow Mainer myself,
Nice.
living on the West Coast and wishing I was back on the East Coast. But
So
I
you know
wanted
what,
to let
Kristen? We're keeping it nice for you.
Well, thank you. I'm actually, real quick, I have one quick question, but last summer I was in Bridgeton at the Magic Lantern Theater with my kids, and you happened to be there with your wife, and you actually came over and chatted with my kids. We were on our way to see Harry Potter, and I was so impressed with how nice you were. And I had to explain to my kids afterwards that they had just met writing royalty. Obviously, being young, they didn't know who you were. But my question for you was, I just finished reading the 11/22/63, and I was curious to know if you were a big Kennedy fan.
I was not actually a big Kennedy fan. I mean, everybody was affected by his charisma. I was a little kid at the time, and you know, we grew up in Maine, and you know what that's like at that time. Everybody was Republican, so you know, we actually all worked for Richard Nixon and that sort of thing because we were fools, obviously. But we were all affected when he died. My mother, who was a Republican her whole life, just sat in front of the TV for 3 days and just cried that he was so young, so beautiful, and the wonderful kids. And the whole event made a huge impression on me. That was like our 9/11.
Stephen, we could not have enjoyed this more.
Well, I did too.
And you're going to have a chance to go see not only Mr. King, but a bunch of other great writers doing what they love best, which is playing music. The All Authors Band's 20th anniversary and final performance includes Stephen King, Mitch Albom, Matt Groening, Amy Tan, Dave Barry, Scott Turow, Ridley Pearson, Greg Isles, Sam Barry, and Roy Blunt Jr.
Special guest.
Special guest is Roger McGuinn of the Byrds.
You're like Kool in the Gang. I mean, there's too many people on stage.
Totally.
Their tour is the Past Our Bedtime Tour. It is Friday, June the 22nd, 8 o'clock at the El Rey Theater. Stephen King, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. You guys have a great day.
You as well.
Talk to you soon.
Did not expect that, folks. I don't know what I expected. We'd never, ever have spoken with Stephen King before, and I don't know if I expected kind of a dark, gloomy, creepy guy who doesn't answer except in monosyllabic words.
You mean like Christopher Walken?
Yeah, basically. What a pleasant guy.
Yeah, super good.
Wow.
And we'll probably repeat that entire thing tomorrow.
Take a little break. We'll be right back. We're right after this. The Mark and Brian Radio.